Chatters. I'm Nat.
And I'm Kat, and welcome to the CrimeChat. I'm your forensic femme fatale. Natalie is your true crime addict connoisseur.
We're just two normal girls who obsess about dark crimes, evil minds, and occasionally the unknown.
And here's your disclaimer, chatters. The following crime chat does contain adult content and will contain heartbreaking descriptions of violent scenarios today, so your listener discretion is advised.
Well, you've been warned, but before we get into today's crime chat, Kat, what have you done? Where are you?
I'm on the road. I'm working on the road. But I go home tomorrow. I've been gone pretty much most of the last 5 months.
Yeah.
I've been like, gone home, gone home, gone home. I've been all over the place. Been to California. I've been to the Caribbean.
There's a song. I've been everywhere, man.
It's Johnny Cash.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then we went on the cruise, which was amazing. So in St. Martin, you know that beach that has like the airport where the planes fly super, super close?
Yeah.
So as we were driving up to it, there was like a little Cessna, like a little private plane that was coming in. And I was like, oh, cool. You know, so I got a picture of that. And then as we were hanging out, whatever, like right there by the beach, a 737 probably came in. And I was like, whoa. That is so cool. It is.
Were you on the beach like in those videos?
So we were like not underneath them. We didn't have time to like run over there because there's a bar right there and it has a schedule of like when the arrivals are. So people know kind of when to go over there. It wasn't quite on time.
Right.
So we didn't like get to be right underneath it, but we were like right there. I mean, it was so close. It was cool. Yeah. It was the coolest thing.
That sounds cool. I see those videos all the time. Like, get away, run.
We went to St. Kitts. We went to Tortola, the British Virgin Islands, and we went to Antigua. So those were 3 places we hadn't been before. So we knocked out a couple of new places. And then we went to St. Thomas and St. Martin.
Okay.
So
very nice.
Take me back.
Yeah.
The weather was amazing.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
And you were on a ship, right? You were on a cruise going there?
Yeah. And it was a smaller ship. It was like an older ship. It was smaller, but it was nice because like anytime you wanted to go somewhere, there weren't a buttload of people. Like the lunch line or whatever. Lunch line feels like I'm in school. The buffet. Like there was like never a line for anything, which was fantastic. So even though the ship was a little bit older, there wasn't as many people. And it was during school, so there wasn't as many kids.
There you go. And these ships today, like they do pack them. Like they make them like these floating cities. And it kind of like, I don't know, like I like the smaller ones. I appreciate that more, the space and just to have it. I don't want to be, what was it? Princess has the one, the Oceana. It's like 6,000 people. Like what? Like,
I don't think it's
crazy.
Princess. I think it's Royal Caribbean has the
Royal Caribbean
right now. And they've literally got like a park, like a theme park on the ship. I mean, it's like make them bigger, better, like more extravagant. But then you've got so many people on there that if you've got that one thing that you're trying to do, you're going to wait forever. Yeah. Just like at a theme park. When you're trying to go to Space Mountain, you got to wait 3 hours for a 30-second ride.
Oh, God. Have you ever been there, Universal, for Halloween nights?
Yes. Halloween Horror Nights. Yes.
Did you like it?
I had a blast. But this was probably 15 years ago.
Okay. Maybe it's different now. I mean, I went a couple of times, and I think the last time I went was about 8-9 years ago.
Okay.
And when I tell you the lines, every haunted house, it was a 2-3 hour wait.
Right.
So you have like 6 different really popular haunted houses, but technically you're not going to get to all 6. You'll get to 1, maybe 2. Like those lines totally screw up your night.
Yeah, I think it was a little different because they started you used to have the scare zones, right? So you could only be scared in that certain zone, but then they opened it up to like make it everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was that way when you were there, but I do know because my girlfriend that we grew up together, she goes all the time and she still goes to Halloween Horror Nights. And she's like, yeah, they made it like where it's everywhere. You can't like, there's no safe zone.
I like that. No safe places here. No safe spaces here.
It's so funny though, like, just walking and like you're talking or whatever and like not paying attention and you turn around and it's like a zombie in your face.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty good. I mean, it's right up my alley, but it sucks because it's too busy. It's too much. Too many people.
last year on Halloween or around Halloween, I was doing some contract work in Virginia and a group of friends that we used to be stationed together that are kind of in that area. We all got together and went to a haunted house. And when I tell you, like, I laugh when I get scared because it's like, and so
that's not creepy at all, Kat.
I was like laughing and like jumping the whole time, but it was a blast.
Perfectly normal.
Yeah. Because I don't know. I think it's funny when I get scared.
And you're laughing.
That's why I laugh at Stanley, aka Uncle Jimmy. Like, that's why I'm like not worried. Like, it doesn't scare me. But anyway, that's a lot. I try to catch up on some shows I'm behind on. I was telling you about Grotesquerie and Only Murders in the Building. I'm kind of behind on those, but Chris wanted to start watching Yellow Jackets again. Have you ever seen that?
I just watched it.
Do you like it?
So, okay. I do like it. I'm confused though. I'm like, why hasn't the second season been out yet? Like, what's going on there? Because they've had enough time to put out a second season, and I hope they didn't like cancel that because there are so many questions that are not answered.
Yes. I thought they had a second season out.
Not on Netflix, they don't.
No, not on Netflix, but it might be on, I think it was on Showtime.
What? So there's 2 seasons on Showtime. I will open a Showtime account tonight and watch it because I need to know. Like, yes, I need to.
There's 2 seasons. Yeah, it's on Showtime. And funny story, that's how we got Showtime originally, was because I was on a contract and in my hotel room, it had Showtime. And so I was like, ooh, I was wanting to watch this Yellow Jackets thing.
Right.
And I got freaking hooked.
Yeah.
So I didn't get through the first season, but when I got home, I was like, you got to watch this. So we did the 7-day trial, whatever, and we just kept it because he was like, this is amazing. So yeah, I guess it's just the first season on Netflix, but there's 2 seasons out. Season 3 comes out next year.
All right, good. Oh my God. Because I was worried. I was like, what's going on? So yes, I watched it. Really good. Like really good.
Very good. Yes.
So other than that, a couple
what about
things.
You? Sorry, I was burping.
I know. We're keeping that. We're keeping that. So I started a diet and I'm already down 8 pounds in like 3 days.
Oh, wow. Is it like a carnivore?
Exactly what it is.
A carnivore diet?
I am on the carnivore diet.
You're the second person in like the last 2 days that I've heard that has done it.
Okay, so it was scary because you're like, I can't eat anything but animals. Like, it's got to be meat. It can't be. You can have cheese. I mean, it comes from an animal, but you can't have like the processed cheese.
Sure.
You got to just think of it like meats, egg, bacon, a lot, butter. And I'm just like, I feel better. It's weird. And and they said if you stick to it, like a really hardcore carnivore diet for 3 days, that your body will go into a ketosis state.
The ketosis, yeah.
A lot sooner than you would get it on keto or Atkins. So I'm like, no, that can't be. Because your body needs like that adjustment period. Because I've done that. And I remember losing weight like that. And it was like your body was a well-oiled machine at that point.
Yeah.
And girl, like clockwork, I am on a Facebook group that says, carnivore for beginners. And they said, give it 3 days, but stick to it. Like, you can eat a whole pound of beef. You can eat whatever the hell you want, like as much as you want. They don't tell you to stop eating, but it's got to be meat. And within 3 days, like I got on the scale and I'm like, holy crap. And of course it's probably mostly water weight, but like my clothes are like, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
My brain, I'm thinking more clearly. It's weird.
Only animal products such as meat, eggs, and dairy are consumed. It's associated with pseudoscientific health claims.
So
weight
far,
loss reduces inflammation. That was the other thing, was the inflammation thing, right? Yeah.
So there's a discussion group and they're always like, you got to think of it this way. Like, yes, people say that fruits and vegetables are very healthy for you. And like that's the way we were raised to believe in the food pyramid and all that. But one of the doctors, so in a group that I'm on, like there's a doctor that kind of instructs people on how to do it. And he's like, you got to remember, there's no such thing as like a meat allergy, but there's plenty of other food allergies that are solely on vegetables, solely on cheese, solely on dairy. He's like, so nature is telling you something is wrong. If you cut all of that out, your inflammation will go down and then your joints will feel better and you'll think faster. And I'm like, I didn't think of it that way.
Makes sense. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. And I was talking, and so the other person I was talking to yesterday about it, it's like he kind of had the same type of results, and he did it he actually just now is kind of starting to wean in some other foods.
Yeah.
But he's like, I feel amazing. Like, I feel so much better. I had more energy.
Yeah.
And you basically flush out all those toxins, which is amazing. Go back to the caveman days. That's all they had, right?
Yes. And then the doctor said that too. Just remember like where we came from, and that, you know, we were hunters, so we always ate our kill, the prey. He's like, the prey ate the grass and all that. We didn't eat that. He's like, and we ate until we were full. We never were on diets. We just passed out from a meat coma, and then I'm like, I never thought of it that way. So yes.
Yeah. So is there a certain meat, like you want to have like grass-fed beef or like
organic?
Like the organic, yeah. Is that better than like the regular, like Tyson's chicken versus the grass-fed, like free-range chicken?
Yeah.
They're going to eat different things, right?
Yeah. And I think, yes. Of course, the organic chicken will be preferred. I mean, a lot of people can't afford it, and the prices are way out of whack. Like, I mean,
it's more expensive.
When I was looking at the meat, because I bought my normal chicken, my Publix chicken, and it's not organic, but like right next to it, you get the organic section, and there's like a $5 difference there. So. No, I mean, I've heard that conversation happen, and I've heard people say like, don't worry about the organic part, but if you're going to do it, like just make sure that it's meat. Like if you can't afford expensive meat, you could just afford skirt steak. That's fine. You know, it doesn't have to be. But yeah, a lot of people prefer organic, and I don't blame them. You know,
yeah, well, they're cool.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Awesome. I know. I have a hunk of meat waiting for me for dinner later on.
Girl,
hunk of meat.
I do too. We went out to dinner last night. Me and my other girlfriend that's here. We split this. They had this huge prime rib, and I was like, man, I'm not that hungry. Like,
right.
And so we split this prime rib meal, and there was still leftovers. So that's what I'm having tonight. Just a big old chunk of prime rib.
Oh my God. So the other thing is, I did watch the movie you recommended, which was Deliverance.
Yes. What'd you think?
Excellent. Very good.
It's really good.
I mean, what's her name? Glenn Close.
Yes.
I want to be her when I grow up. Like, I want the whole style. Like, I want that style. Like, I love that. That's so 80s. Like, just having that whole, her hair, like that. I know people like that. Like, where I grew up, like, that's what everybody would look like. Great movie. And then I told you about Room 237 that I watched, right? Which was the documentary on The Shining.
No.
Okay. I don't know.
Sounds familiar. Because the last one you told me about was Skinamarink. Oh, that was the last one I remember.
All right. I recommend you watch 237. Okay. Because Stanley Kubrick is the producer, the director, the producer of this. Now, it's not his story. It's actually Stephen King's story.
Right.
But technically, it's not Stephen King's story. So Stephen King signed his rights over to the producer to produce the story.
It's based on his novel.
But yeah, like very loosely. Like that's why Stephen King doesn't like the movie, because Stanley kind of took liberties with the movie. But like Stanley, I didn't know this, but he's like one of the rare geniuses that's in like the film industry. So his IQ is like, I want to say 200 or above. Like he's crazy smart.
Wow.
And he's not with us anymore. But he had these. So the Room 233 is like kind of the theories of the symbolism within the movie The Shining, because he left a lot of signs and details. Like it's really crazy because it's brilliant. He is brilliant. Yeah. So I recommend it. But let me ask you a question, Kat. You've been on the internet for the last day, right?
Searched? Not really.
Not really. All right. So then you're missing it.
Okay. What happened?
There is a popular meme going out there.
Okay.
It's a picture of John Wick, but he's not holding his puppy. He's holding Peanut. Okay. Peanut's a squirrel.
Okay.
I need to explain what happened here. Peanut was a rescue squirrel. Okay. The owner, Mark Longo, rescued Peanut from a park 7 years ago. And he ended up moving to New York State, and he actually started a nonprofit organization. After taking care of the squirrel, a rescue, he also rescued a raccoon. They were his pets. They were at his home in New York. They were his pets, right? And he also felt very passionate about helping animals that are in need, that no longer can really survive the wilds. Like, he didn't think anything wrong with taking in a squirrel as a pet. They opened, it's called Welcome to Peanut's Freedom Farm. It's adorable, okay? And a lot of animals are on this farm. It's upstate New York. This is what it says on the About page. It says, where second chances thrive. 7 years ago, a tiny fluffy baby squirrel entered our lives and changed everything. Peanut the squirrel quickly captured hearts and became a household name. Despite being reintroduced to the wild, Peanut faced adversity, losing half of his tail in a severe attack. Without developing essential wildlife instincts, Peanut became an indoor, non-releasable squirrel. Remarkably, Peanut went on to become the first squirrel to amass over 1 million, then 2 million followers on TikTok. With with a combined social media following of 3 million. Thanks to the overwhelming love and support from our dedicated followers, we were able to establish Peanut's Freedom Farm. This is a sanctuary haven where the neglected and homeless animals receive a second chance to life. It's just beautiful. Like, there was a mission here. Like, Peanut had and he has a huge following. Right. This is what happened. So here's the story. So Mark Longo, who is the owner, and this is, I'm reading the paper from the Microsoft News. So this is where I got it from. Okay. Mark Longo, the owner of the Instagram famous squirrel Peanut, is mourning the loss of his beloved pet. On November 1st, Longo took to Instagram to reveal that Peanut had been euthanized, along with his pet raccoon, Fred, by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservatism. Yeah.
They euthanized him? How did they get access to him if he was on this, rescue thing?
Because he lives in his apartment. Like, he had his squirrel and his raccoon. They were his pets. So they didn't live on the farm. They lived in his apartment. And maybe somebody complained or something, and they didn't realize who they were messing with. They didn't know it was the Peanut. He said, despite our passionate outcries for compassion, the agency chose to ignore our pleas, leaving us in deep shock and grief. In the light of the news, Congressman Nick Langworthy, and I know this guy, he does a lot of advocacy for children and animals, and he's a great guy. He took to X to express his frustrations with the DEC and how they handled the situation. So basically, he's like, it's ridiculous how New York's DEC has their priorities are all screwed up. And he's like, first of all, what they were saying is that it's a wild animal and he can have rabies. Now, he's been in his home for 7 years. Okay. And they said that the only way they can find out if the animal has rabies is by euthanizing them.
Oh, yeah. No.
I just needed to say that because it broke my heart. And it's really terrible. Rest in peace,
So
Peanut.
they went in and just we want your squirrel.
Went in probably saying, we have a complaint. Your neighbor over here is complaining that you have rodents in your home or whatever. And it's just wrong. It really is just it's a terrible, terrible story. But I mean,
and you might not know this, but was he ever at the vet? Did he get shots and all that? I mean, then why the fuck would you think that he's got rabies?
I don't know. I just think that they didn't do their homework, or they just kind of said, "Oh, it's a rodent. Give that to me. We're taking it in." They saw the raccoon. Gosh. I know, it's terrible, right?
It's horrible.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, and also, I don't know if you could see, but I got my hair lighter. Can you see?
I can't.
I know.
Tell.
My hair is that dark that you can't see. So. Anyway, so it's like 3 shades lighter, but
it's
anyway.
It's hard to see on the video. Oh, but it's awesome.
So that's that. And if anybody wants to donate to Peanut Freedom Farm, I'm going to help the other animals, because this needs to be remembered. This needs to be a mission that this doesn't happen again. So rest in peace. So to our story now, Kat. I know it's not going to get any happier. Okay.
No.
But today you asked me to do an intro on the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
NCMEC.
Nick, often known as NCMEC. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this organization has become a beacon of hope for families in crisis, aiding in the search and recovery of missing children and standing against child exploitation. It all began with a tragic event that shook the nation and inspired parents to take action, leading to the formation of NCMEC. Founded on June 13th, 1984, it was initially established in Washington, D.C. This organization emerged at the time when the country had faced a growing crisis of child abductions that was on the rise, and there was no system in place to help locate these children, no national database for missing children. There was no standards of procedures across all the states. Yeah. So you can literally take a child from one state to another state, and both states are not communicating. They don't know.
Yep.
And it also made parents and families feel alone and forgotten about and helpless. The heart of NCMEC's creation lies in the tragic loss of a young boy named Adam Walsh, a 6-year-old who was abducted and murdered in 1981. Adam's parents, John and Ravi, and I Googled that because it's a French name, the Google pronunciation tool. Yeah. The meaning of that is dream. That's a pretty name.
That's beautiful. Veve.
They were frustrated by their experience due to the lack of organized support given by authorities. This led them to develop their mission to ensure that no other parent would have to go through the same trauma without help. John and Ravi took their story to the top. He was a go-getter, this guy. So he was before all of this, he worked at a bank. Like he was just a very personable, like he was not afraid to speak to anybody. He knew how to get his point. He knew how to seal the deal. Yeah. They received support from a Congressman, Paul Simon, not the singer.
I was going to say Paul Simon. What?
As well as President Ronald Reagan. Their cause was bolstered by President Reagan. He recognized the critical need for the centralized nationwide effort to protect the search of children. John Walsh channeled his grief into advocacy. He became a relentless voice for children and families. He even became a television personality hosting that famous show, America's Most Wanted, which helped law enforcement catch criminals and find missing persons. Yes. And they have some success on that, like a lot of success.
We've talked a lot about quite a few that has been on there. John List comes to mind.
That's right.
The first, John List is the top of my list.
That was probably their biggest catch, though, John List. Who else?
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. Maybe we can do a focus and we can reach out to John Walsh and be like, hey.
He looks like a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Well, what's his name? From To Catch a Predator, wished you a happy birthday.
Oh, he did. Right. Chris
Hansen.
Chris Hansen, yeah.
That's right. So NCMEC initially operated out of Washington, D.C. The founders intended for it to be a resource hub for parents, law enforcement, and policymakers. They envisioned that it was like a centralized place where missing children's cases would be coordinated. There would be tools, there would be technology, there would be expertise, that, all these things to provide a healthy search and recovery efforts of these children. Today, NCMEC has expanded far beyond its initial operations in DC. Its headquarters is now located in Virginia, and it has grown into a multifaceted organization with nationwide and international reach. NCMEC works with state, federal, international law enforcement agencies and has established a public-private partnership with tech companies, airlines, retailers. They have kind of like their tentacles, their tethers are basically on everything.
I mean, honestly, who would deny an organization like this, right? Like, how could you deny helping missing or exploited children?
Oh my God. Oh, Kat, have you watched The Sound of Freedom?
No.
Okay, you need to watch The Sound of Freedom. The Sound of Freedom.
Oh, yes. John Caviezel.
Oh, yeah, that's the guy who played Passion, right?
Yep.
Oh my God. It hits a chord in you where you're like, okay, Hollywood is drumming it up a little bit. You know that. Yeah, but if you ever worked with kids, you know that a lot of it's true. So it's just like, oh my God. But I recommend it. Just, you're going to throw something at the TV, Kat. All right. Well, okay. So some of the most impactful programs and services NCMEC provides includes Cyber Tip Line, a crucial tool that allows individuals to report instances of suspected children exploitation. I guess a tip line. The next one is the Amber Alert System. NCMEC is central to the operation of Amber Alert, which notifies the public when a child goes missing. Next one is Team Hope, a peer support program where parents can find and provide guidance, comfort, and resources to other parents and who are newly experiencing this level of trauma. The other one is a Child ID Kit and Resources. NCMEC provides free resources to parents to keep updated information about their children, such as child ID kits. So I guess it's like...
I had one for mine. I had one for each of mine. Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're adults now. So, but when they were kids, yeah. Especially because we use daycare and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So...
we chip our dogs. Like, why wouldn't you get an ID card for your kid? Yeah. Because God forbid. Yeah,
for sure. But so there was like a blood sample that was in there. Their fingerprints was in there. Their picture was in it.
Right.
Like a physical description, obviously full name and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Just something that, like, even a hair clipping. But anyway, if something were to happen, God forbid, to that child, that they would be able to have some sort of, forensic or scientific capability to help track them down maybe sooner. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
So now, while many people know about NCMEC's public initiatives, there are several lesser known aspects of the organization. One is global initiatives. NCMEC partners with Interpol and other international organizations to track child exploitation and trafficking worldwide, recognizing that these issues extend beyond the U.S. borders.
That's amazing. I like that.
Yeah, me too. Next one is family advocacy programs. So besides helping find children, NCMEC offers counseling and mental health resources to families affected by these crises. So they are acknowledging that people need help when they're going through this trauma. Like it's because it just impacts the entire family. And it's
absolutely.
It's like a relief knowing that we have agencies that are acknowledging that,
Yeah.
Next one, tech advancements. NCMEC actively collaborates with tech companies such as Google, Facebook, and developed AI tools for identifying online children exploitation.
Perfect.
Staying ahead of the evolution of digital threats.
That's awesome.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has grown into a national and international advocate for vulnerable children. The organization continues to navigate a challenging landscape while remaining committed to its mission of protecting children from abduction, exploitation, and abuse. So thank you, NCMEC. Thank you.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's horrible the way this had to come about, but it's good that it's here. So I hope that is a good opening for your story.
Yes, it is. We're not going to be talking specifically about NCMEC, but I did want to make sure that people are aware of it. Yeah. I worked with them. I'm sure you have worked with them before. Yeah, yes. I've worked with them before. It's a fantastic organization. We will talk about some of the things that you mentioned, but I guess we'll just jump into it. It's going to be ugly, guys.
Oh, okay.
Some good things have come out of it, much like what happened with NCMEC. So August 26, 1982 is a day that one family and community will never forget, and an event that made its mark in American history. 3-year-old Rachael Runyan, this beautiful little girl behind me.
Precious.
She went to play outside at the playground near their home with her two brothers in Sunset, Utah. Rachael was lured away by a stranger offering her ice cream. Her lifeless body was found 3 weeks later in a creek bed. To this day, the murderer has never been caught and remains one of Utah's oldest cases.
This gave me chills.
Yeah, boo. This tragedy led to the establishment of the Missing Children of Utah Incorporated, a nonprofit organization, as well as the Utah-wide child abduction alert system called the Rachael Alert. This was later adopted by the National Amber Alert Child Abduction Emergency Alert System. Rachael's mother, Elaine Runyan Simmons, has been an outspoken and integral part of educating and raising parents' awareness on the dangers of abductions and crimes against children. Elaine has also been the voice behind legislative issues involving children, combating child abuse, and preventing predatory crimes against children, including abduction and murder. Rachael's story was the primary factor in the 1983 passing of the U.S. Congressional Missing Children's Act, which mandated an allocation of additional resources for investigations of ongoing missing children's cases. The last time I saw, this has been voted up for, renewal, and it's been adjusted. And it's the last time it was signed into legislation was, it looked like 2018. So it's still advancing. Yeah. And I'm sure they're adding more of that technological advances and other capabilities into the bill. So that's great. But Rachael's story is the forefront of so many other stories of crimes against children. Let's talk a little bit about the beautiful Rachael. Rachael Marie Runyan was born on June 23, 1979, to Jeff and Elaine Runyan in Weber County, Utah. Rachael had one older brother, Justin, and one younger brother, Nathan. The Runyan family moved from Tennessee to Sunset, Utah, just before Rachael was born. With the Sunset community then only harboring 6,000 residents, Elaine felt that it would be, quote, a wonderful and safe place, end quote, to raise their children. The Runyans settled in a modest home adjacent to the Doxia Elementary School playground. The 3 Runyan children often played there, as well as a park called Mitchell Park, which was also near their home. In 1982, Jeff and Elaine installed a gate in their backyard fence that could easily access the playground at the elementary school. So they had this gate opening, like you could see it from their backyard. It was right there, right next to it. This story does have a bit of the unknown, which is our theme for the season, but it also touches on a bit of crime and cosmetics, a segment we cover where the beauty world and crimes collide. Here's your tie-in. When Rachael was 2 years old, the toddler beauty queen was crowned Little Miss Sunset. Isn't that adorable?
She looks like that. She looks like the picture. Her smile lights up a room, like you could see it.
Mm-hmm. So I do have some of her beauty portraits. It gives me Jean-Benet Ramsey like vibes, totally. Yeah. But she was beautiful. Rachael was also a well-behaved child who loved to play with her brothers and other children. When she was too young to play with like the older kids, like her older brother sometimes, she would sit aside and suck her thumb and watch them play. Rachel's habit of sucking her thumb kind of led Mom Elaine, to kind of playfully tease with her and say she's going to be buck-toothed when she gets older if she keeps sucking her thumb. And it always made Rachael like giggle and kind of laugh. Jeff and Elaine always taught their kids to be safe and to be aware of the dangers of strangers, despite the strong sense of security that Sunset, Utah provided. They would have never presumed that this would be the center of their own personal tragedy. In the late morning of August 26, 1982, Rachael and her older brother Justin, who was 5 at the time, asked their mother if they and their younger brother Nathan, who was only 18 months old, he was a year and a half, if they could play at the playground at the elementary school right next to their house. Elaine never really allowed their children to play outside unsupervised. However, they kind of begged her and they were like, please, Mom, please, please. Right. She reluctantly agreed because the playground literally was like 15 feet from their backyard. She could see them from inside and she prepared lunch for the kids. She said, yes, go ahead, go play. And she watched the children from the open kitchen window and she talked to them, like kept in communication and stuff with them as she was making lunch. When she called them in to have lunch, it was around 12:55 p.m. Only Nathan and Justin returned. Justin told Elaine that Rachael had been taken by a black man who offered to buy her ice cream and bubble gum at a nearby supermarket. Justin said that the man approached them as they were playing in the sand pit at the playground. The man sat down and played with them for several minutes before offering them candy and ice cream. All 3 children, Justin, Rachael, and Nathan, followed the man to kind of toward the car when Rachael said that she liked bubblegum flavored ice cream. The man said, oh, I have bubblegum flavored ice cream. Come with me. Now, as they approached the car, Justin was like, Rachael, stop. Don't go any further. Like, we're not supposed to go with strangers, right? Like an older brother would. So Rachael turned around and started to walk away. The man picked her up, threw her over his shoulder. She was screaming as the man shoved her into his car. Justin said when he saw this, he was frozen with fear.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 5, right?
He's a child. Yeah.
He doesn't know what to do. Immediately after hearing what Justin told her, Elaine rushed to that supermarket that the man mentioned and was asking shoppers, employees, have you seen a little blonde girl with a black man? But nobody did. Nobody saw anything. About 20 minutes later, Elaine reported the abduction to the Sunset Police Department. Now, the police immediately set up roadblocks in and around the city of Sunset. However, it was to no avail. This kind of led to nothing. But within a few hours on that same day, a task force of 10 investigators was formed, consisting of officers from several surrounding Utah counties. They were supervised by Sheriff Brant Johnston. Investigators believed that this man was local because he knew that they could get ice cream at the local supermarket. And I'm thinking, I mean, it's the 80s for one, but 2, when you have 6,000 people in your town, it's not that very many people. I'm just thinking maybe like that one major supermarket that was close by. Investigators did claim that someone who did not live in the Sunset area would not know like where the supermarket was.
Oh, okay.
So they kind of led into thinking that they were local.
Yeah.
Now, both Justin, the 5-year-old brother, and a 10-year-old boy who was actually at the playground at the same time, both boys described the kidnapper to police as light-complexion African-American, between 30 and 35 years old, about 6 foot tall, medium build, with an Afro-style haircut and a handlebar mustache. The boys described the vehicle as an older model, four-door, dark blue car with wood grain stripes down the side. Side note, I don't imagine that these boys use that vernacular, right?
No.
You know? So I'm thinking they probably, police probably showed them certain pictures where they were able to deduct a composite, maybe, or identification by exclusion, if that makes sense, right? An additional vehicle description was provided in addition to the aforementioned information that added a chrome rear bumper, high front seats, a rear license plate below the bumper, lights across the rear, and a rear windshield wiper. It was similar to a Plymouth Champ, but it may have been a 1973 Ford Pinto Squire station wagon. Investigators also discovered the same description of the man and the vehicle was identified by other children and adults who were near Mitchell Park 15 minutes before Rachael's abduction. And apparently this man was just sitting there watching the children, drinking coffee, and being super creepy. He was just sitting there watching the kids play. Other witnesses provided a similar and detailed physical description of the man in which the police then constructed a composite drawing. However, the only actual eyewitnesses were her brothers, her two brothers, one 18 months old who really wouldn't be able to say anything, the 5-year-old Justin, and then the other 10-year-old boy at the playground. The police faced other challenges to include camera footage. Now, the school's closed-circuit television, that was kind of, one, I was surprised it had it in 1982, but two, they were unable to capture the actual abduction. So wherever the cameras were, it didn't focus in on the playground, so it wasn't on any of the footage.
It seems like those things never work when you need them to.
Right. Investigators were also limited with conducting certain procedures, such as forensic searches of the crime scene and house-to-house inquiries in both the hours and days following the abduction. Through public pleas, investigators received multiple leads regarding Rachael's whereabouts and the potential identity of the kidnapper. Assisted by neighbors, the Runyans began their own search efforts as well. Now, even though they had limited means and methods to support their search, they did survey local neighborhoods and distributed flyers displaying Rachael's picture. These flyers were also distributed nationwide, alerting the public around the nation about Rachael's disappearance. Within the first 3 weeks, the Runyans spent $10,000 in postage alone to send out these flyers. 1 week after Rachael's abduction, Jeff and Elaine flew to New York to attend a press conference in order to keep the extensive publicity kind of alive surrounding Rachael's kidnapping. At this press conference, Dad, Jeff Runyan, said, quote, "I feel the abductor is without a conscience, and my plea is for someone who knows him to come forward and sell him out," end quote. Acknowledging the possibility that Rachael might have been sold following her abduction like human trafficking, Elaine did urge all parents planning on adopting a little girl in the near future to ensure that that child was not Rachael. On September 3rd, 1982, Jeff and Elaine appeared on NBC's Today Show to continue publicizing their daughter's abduction. Here they offered $20,000 as a reward. Most of this was collected by donations for the information to lead to Rachael's whereabouts or her abductor. The city of Sunset also offered an additional $20,000 for the child's safe return. Then, September 19th, around 5 p.m., a family traveling in Mountain Green, Utah, which is about 20 miles away from Sunset, stopped near Trappers Loop Road to let their children get out and play by the nearby stream. The area was really remote, wooded, and kind of mountainous. Close to a pile of brush, the children found what they thought was a doll, partially covered in shrubbery and floating at the edge of a stream. Upon a closer look, the children realized this was no doll, but the nude body of a child with her hands bound behind her back.
Oh my God.
Runyan family members were able to offer a tentative positive identification confirming distinct features of a chipped tooth and ear piercings. It was Rachael. Due to the advanced decomposition of her body, the exact cause of death has never been determined, and the coroner was unable to exclude methods like asphyxiation just because of the condition of her body at the time.
It was only a week.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay. Oh, yeah. I guess so, right? Oh, yeah. Wow.
In September in Utah, I mean, it's like at the end of the summer.
Yeah.
Once Rachael was formally identified, Jeff and Elaine held Rachael's funeral service at the Sunset Stake Center, wherein more than 300 people were in attendance. Rachael was buried at the Washington Heights Memorial Park in Ogden, Utah, in a white casket decorated with her photograph, a single pink rosebud, and one of her favorite Raggedy Ann dolls. Rachel's gravestone bears the words, quote, "She brought a nation to its knees," end quote.
Oh my God. The second time you're giving me chills.
I told you it was going to be a hard one. It's hard to write. Strangely enough, on 2 separate occasions, black roses were found on her grave on 2 different times.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
That is weird. Somebody watching, somebody just admiring their work.
Possibly, and you would think they would have maybe set up surveillance. If it happened once, you're that's weird.
Yeah.
Maybe set up surveillance and kind of watch and see who comes there. I mean, that's when a lot of the techniques of watching the funeral, right? See who comes to the funeral to, provide their condolences to the family kind of thing. By October of 1982, the abduction and the murder of Rachael Runyan was a major factor in passing of a federal law that allowed parents of missing children to gain access to a clearinghouse administered by the FBI. This allowed them to obtain and file records of fingerprints and blood types of more than 300,000 Utah children.
Not missing, just children.
Just children,
okay.
like the child ID kits.
Okay.
It was a repository, a place to hold all of that information.
Okay.
Through this terrifying tragedy, Elaine channeled her grief into action, becoming an outspoken advocate in raising awareness with issues surrounding child safety and abduction, as well as being a key player in legislation pertaining to the recovery of children. Elaine frequently offered emotional support, guidance, and advice to parents with similar experiences and circumstances. 2.5 years after the incident, police discovered a gruesome message on the bathroom wall of a local all-night laundromat. It read, quote, "Beware. I'm still at large. I killed the little Runyan girl. Remember, beware," end quote. The message also had a calling card. It was an upside-down crucifix with 666, 6 left and right and then 6 at the bottom. Of course, this is the 80s. So the police felt that actually was a sign that a satanic cult was involved. Satanic panic. By the late 80s, police discovered more disturbing information. An informant that they had provided a potential motive for Rachael's kidnapping. And this was to make a movie of her being tortured, sexually abused, exploited, and subsequently murdered. This is also known as a snuff film.
Police think happens?
An informant on the street said that they heard that that's why she was abducted, was to be part of this snuff film.
It just got even worse, the story.
I know. Wow. Police speculated that she may have had the same dress on that she was kidnapped in during the film. I'll get to it in a little bit. It was on Unsolved Mysteries. I watched that episode. And basically the cop was saying, if she was kidnapped in that same dress, it's possible that she had that dress on while they were filming. So if you watch it, you can report it anonymously, but let us know if you've seen it.
Right. So they're assuming that there could be possible video evidence that she... Okay.
Yes. In response to the visibility of Rachael's abduction and murder, and through Elaine's tenacity and just outspoken advocacy for situations like this, Utah formally implemented the Rachael Alert, Child Abduction Alert System, in April of 2002. This alerted residents statewide of an active abduction or missing children. Once the authenticity of an abduction was verified by law enforcement, a Rachael Alert form was faxed to television and radio stations for immediate broadcast. Criteria for a Rachael Alert included the missing child was a minor or mentally handicapped, that they were in imminent danger, that the disappearance was not a runaway situation, and that law enforcement had a complete and accurate physical description of the missing child. The Rachael Alert was used in the June 2002 abduction of Elizabeth Smart and the January 2003 abduction of a 3-month-old Nicholas Triplett. In both of these cases, the children were found alive. Now, following the safe recovery of Elizabeth Smart, 41 states implemented the Amber Alert child abduction system. You mentioned the Amber Alert. This was created in reference to 9-year-old Amber Renee Hagerman, who was abducted and later found murdered January 17, 1996 in Arlington, Texas. In 1998, the Child Alert Foundation created the first fully automated alert notification system to notify surrounding communities of a missing or abducted child. Following this automation, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, expanded its role in 2002 to promote the Amber Alert. Now, Utah replaced the Rachael Alert with the Amber Alert in April of 2003, conforming to the nationwide standards. The Amber Alert system is tested twice a year in Utah, on January 13th and then on the anniversary of Rachael's abduction, August 26th. In 2013, Elaine, mom, said, quote, "It's a legacy I leave for my daughter. If there was something in place like this in 1982, maybe we'd still have her," end quote.
Yeah.
Without any leads and not very much action, not enough information, this case grew extremely cold, despite the police's determination to find Rachel's murder or murderers, because they didn't know if it was more than one person, right?
Yeah.
In 2007, the case was officially reopened by the Sunset Police Department, working closely with the Utah Attorney General's office in their efforts to apprehend and convict a perpetrator or perpetrators. With the advancement of technology, officials had hopes that they would be able to use advanced forensic technology that was not available in 1982, which included DNA testing. They tested items around where Rachel's body was found that was collected as evidence, but they didn't have a means at the time, but they still had it in evidence. It yielded some tentative results, but it's not helped advance the case. Investigators have also not ruled out the possibility of exhuming Rachel's body for further forensic testing. Now, while there hasn't been much advancement, police have found a few suspects. Investigators looked into the possibility that a serial killer, Arthur Gary Bishop, was responsible for Rachel's murder. He abducted and murdered 5 young boys in Utah in the late 70s and early 80s, and Rachel's brother Justin was around the same age as Bishop's confirmed victims. He also had lured other victims with the promise of candy. Furthermore, he was familiar with the Sunset area. However, he denied being responsible for her murder and was later ruled out as a suspect. In March of 2012, investigators announced that a prison inmate in Pennsylvania, who had been a resident of Sunset, Utah in 1982, was under active investigation. In October of 1989, this man was in the Utah State Prison for an unrelated aggravated assault conviction. So they had all of his information and fingerprints and everything like that. But he became a suspect after his sister told police that he was responsible for the murder. She said he sexually assaulted and tortured Rachael on videotape before she was killed in a house in Ogden, Utah. Some of the women's information correlated with that other informants and what they were able to provide and helped support the evidence, but others did not. So it wasn't everything. But, once you get enough people saying the same thing, you can, kind of put that together. However, she later recanted most of her statements and was charged with obstruction of justice and theft by deception for taking informant fees. So, she was a paid informant.
Okay.
And then she admitted, okay, I was lying. So,
wow.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah. Karma.
Yeah. Karma has no deadline.
Nope.
It's not known if her brother is still considered a suspect, and formal charges have never been filed. Another potential, it was her brother, the one that was in prison. So,
I'm sorry. When you said her brother, for some reason, I was thinking Rachael, but no.
Oh no, sorry. So the informant's brother. Another potential subject is a man with a criminal record who is believed to maybe live in New Mexico. The suspect matched a physical description of Rachel's abductor and lived in the Sunset area in 1982. He drove a blue sedan that resembled the abductor's car. He also had a violent criminal history in Utah. Sunset Police Chief Ken Eburn said that evidence supporting the potential guilt of the suspect exists, but it's insufficient for police to make a formal arrest. Furthermore, Eburn said that he is convinced a witness or individuals with knowledge of this, people know about it, but they're reluctant to come forward because he's made death threats before. If you go to the police, I'm going to kill you.
Really?
How they even found that out, I don't know. Maybe other informants. In 2011, the same suspect assaulted his girlfriend and abducted their 5-month-old son. The child was safely returned, and the suspect was later charged with domestic violence-related crimes. And again, no formal charges have been filed against this individual, but he is still considered a possible subject in Rachel's abduction and murder. In May of 2016, the park where Rachael was abducted was renamed the Rachael Runyan Memorial Park. What's behind me? I got the park bench and this little thing. I'm going to talk about it here in a second. So it was formally dedicated to Rachel's memory on the 34th anniversary of her abduction, August 26, 2016. A memorial stone exhibits Rachel's picture. A brief summary of her story is on the other side, and it has the park's name. The inscription right here on the front says, in honor of Rachael Marie Runyan, June 23, 1979 to August 26, 1982, abducted from Doxy Elementary Playground, August 26, 1982. In March of 2017, the Rachael Runyan Missing and Exploited Children's Day was signed into legislation in Utah. The purpose of the annual observance is to raise public awareness of missing and exploited children within the state and prioritizing child safety. The bill included Rachael's story and was described as a, quote, catalyst for the development of better responses to child abduction, end quote, within the state of Utah. The annual awareness event is held every year on August 26th, the anniversary of Rachael's abduction. Additionally, when an Amber Alert is implemented, and the missing child is subsequently found safe and healthy, a Rachael Runyan Award is presented to the individual who either locates the missing child or initially alerts authorities to his or her abduction.
Wow.
In August of 2019, the Utah Attorney General's Cold Case Unit began working with local police on Rachael's case. In February of 2020, Rachael's family and their private investigator announced that the previous description of the abductor may have been inaccurate. Her brother Justin, who witnessed the abduction when he was 5, felt that something was wrong with the composite. He said he had difficulty describing the abductor's race at the time, and he now believes that the abductor was either Black, Hispanic, or a mixed race. The private investigator believed that Rachael's abductor was non-Caucasian and of a dark brown complexion. Justin now remembers that there was a gap in the abductor's mustache at the philtrum, right here, in the lip line. A second and updated composite of the abductor was then released. And I have both of these pictures also on the Patreon. And her beauty queen picture and all that stuff. Mm. So shortly after the new picture was released, a tipster came forward and said that it looked like her uncle matched the description and it may be responsible for Rachael's murder. Oh, specifically, her uncle was Hispanic and had a gap in his mustache. The tipster said she had not come forward earlier because she thought that Rachael's abductor was Black. Other relatives also thought that the uncle was responsible but did not come forward for the same reason. Now, The uncle did live in the area in 1982. He drove a Pinto Esquire that matched the description of the abductor's vehicle. Mm-hmm. He had a history of sexually abusing children and served time for child sexual abuse, but unfortunately he died in 2019. So they never, this all came out in 2020. He died the year before.
Wow.
Police are investigating this lead and comparing his DNA to evidence from the crime scene, and I did not see any resolution or conclusion. In August of 2022, the police reported that not much DNA was preserved in the case due to the evidence collection methods at the time. So far, the DNA tests have come back as either insufficient or inconclusive. Currently, there is a $65,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of Rachael's killer. Now, as I mentioned, Rachael's parents conducted a press conference, they were on the Today Show, and throughout the years, Rachael's story was also featured, I mentioned, on Unsolved Mysteries, Season 2, Episode 18, which aired November 8th, 1989. In this episode, there were indications that Rachael was abducted and later murdered, making a snuff film. Host Raymond Burr also said that investigators were close to finding a suspect. Maybe, I don't know, that was 1989. Yeah. Rachael's story also appeared in 2 books. Faces of the Amber Alert by Charles Williams was published in 2005, and Unsolved Child Murders, 18 American Cases, 1956 to 1998. This was written by Emily Thompson, and that was published in 2017. And of course, podcast, right? So addition to the CrimeChat, the podcast, The Murder in My Family, covered Rachael's story and the ongoing effect that this has had on the Runyan family. Their episode came out in August of 2018. Rachael's family has never given up hope that the killer will be found. In 2022, Elaine, mom, said, quote, "We still want it solved and we still suffer. It's a horrible crime and I don't want it to happen to anyone else," end quote. And then earlier this year in August 2024, Elaine was quoted in another article saying, "It changed my whole life. I spent pretty much my whole life trying to find who did this and keeping her story alive," end quote. Sunset Police are steadfast in investigating this active and open case. The current police chief is Brett Jameson. He frequently reviews the case personally and is convinced that had they had the technology and the Amber Alert in 1982, they would have been able to solve this case. He said, quote, "There's not an officer on this department that doesn't think about little Miss Rachael Runyan daily. Every lead we've come across, we've dissected it, and again, still, we have no physical evidence that can tie anybody to this particular case," end quote. The family says that they have some ideas about who might be responsible, but they're working with investigators to figure out those tips. They hope bringing this story to the forefront might remind somebody of a little detail that could help tie a bow on Rachael's tragedy. So chatters, if you have any information about what happened to Rachael, please contact the Sunset Police Department in Utah at 801-825-1620. And that is the heartbreaking story of this beautiful little beauty queen, Rachael Runyan. Rest in peace, baby girl.
Oh my God, that is just a sad, sad story.
I know.
There is no good day. It just got worse and worse and worse. Oh my God, that's terrible.
Like NCMEC, I mean, there's something in, John Walsh, like something had to happen to be able to have the capabilities and the intent on the forefront of preventing something like this. Like, that's why we have that stuff today. Yeah. And I mean, if people weren't fucking evil, we wouldn't have it to worry about it at all. But people are fucking evil.
Yes. And I wonder if they crossed paths, Elaine and John, because he was very active in Congress. Like, I wonder if like they went to some meeting or like, because it seems like they're very similar. They're Rachael Alert and the Amber Alert. And, and it just, I'm sure he's met her. I'm sure he
I'm sure. I'm sure. I have no doubt. And I think, I want to say it might have also been on America's Most Wanted, but like one of those, like at the end of the episode kind of thing where like, put it out there. I want to say I saw that as well.
Oh my God. It doesn't, you know what it is? Like, after listening to that story and then looking at that picture, I'm in disbelief that somebody could do something so terrible to such an angel.
It's beautiful. Absolutely.
All right. Well, that was a very sad case. That was one of the unknowns. And hopefully they find some leeway in that. And I'm assuming that without exhuming her body, they are left with the evidence that they took back in the 80s.
I don't know that, like, a sexual assault kit when her body was in the water for who knows how many days, it could have been there for, she was missing for 3 weeks before they found her. Maybe she was there for 2 weeks, 2 weeks and 5 days. Maybe she was in the water. So I don't know that they would have thought that doing a sexual assault kit or like taking the sample would have been efficient. Like if it would have been contaminated. And I mean, there's nothing left of her body. I don't know what it would do.
Right. And the water washes everything away.
Yeah.
I still would have done it. I mean, I still would have took some evidence.
The one we talked about, one of the Crime and Cosmetics from last season, Jackie something, where she was also found in the water, but they were able to collect a semen sample from her. I want to say that was in the 80s also. Yeah.
So I know you said the medical examiner couldn't even identify like why the cause of death. But did they know that if she was sexually assaulted, they couldn't even see that
I don't think they would be able to, to determine
She's
that.
so tiny. She's so tiny. And oh my God. They're
breaking you could get into the biological, like maybe they couldn't even, the hymen, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they couldn't even see if the hymen was still there. Maybe it was already.
Oh my God. Poor baby. Rest in peace.
Yes.
Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Sad.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, because we don't leave you hanging, chatters, for more information on this case, please check out After That Crime Chat, only available on our Patreon.
Yes, and don't forget to follow us on our socials, Crime Chat with Nat and Kat on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and X. See what we got going on.
Yes, remember, Crime Chat with Nat and Kat, when you become a VIP chatter to our Patreon. And
we just had a new sign up for Sherry. So shout out to Sherry for signing up on our Patreon.
Welcome to the family, Sherry.
And she's got a gift coming to her. So you guys could get some merch and stuff too when you sign up.
Yeah, so we spoil all of our chatters. So.
Yes, we do.
And you'll also have access to bonus episodes, behind the scenes, our bloopers, which are hilarious, and like we just said, free merch.
Yes.
So come check out the merch and see what's in the works.
That's right. Be sure to check out our next episode. It is going to be your story. Have you decided what you're doing yet, or is it a surprise?
It's a surprise. But I'll tell you. We'll figure out what the intro is going to be, but it's a surprise.
Okay.
All right. You don't want to miss it.
We'll see you next time, chatters. Bye.